is up, my developers? And in this video, we are going to be connecting our database to our node server. So the first thing we're going to have to do is create a MongoDB account, and for that, all you have to go to mongodb.com and then create your account. It's free. You get one free server out of there, or one free database. And so you're going to get to a screen somewhat like this. Let's click create. Click dedicated. Yeah, that's fine. And then do whatever you gotta do right here. It's very simple. And just create a free server. So once you have that created, next thing we're gonna have to do is type connect, or click connect, not type. You're not typing anything out. And then connect to your cluster and copy this right here. That'll come into play later on. So normally we make a single node app file and we run it from there. But we're going to be doing a little differently this time because I like to keep our code pretty and then our separate little modules, and it just makes it easier to read and know what's going on. So just like normal, we're going to start and we're going to create a app.js file. But don't go too much further. We have to install some things. So like normal, we are going to install Node, and you should know by now that is npm I node. So once that's installed, we're going to install a few more things we don't normally install. First one is going to be Mongoose, and this is a driver to help us connect to our MongoDB server or database. So npm I Mongoose. We are also going to install a .env file, and that is spelled .env, just D-O-T-E-N-V, not a period. And the last thing we're going to do is install Express. So at this point, you should normally know we would require HTTP and our URL, but thanks to Express, we don't need to do that. So we're going to require Express, so const express equals require Express, and that deals with our normal settings to connect to the browser. And then we are also going to install JSON from Express, but like this. It's a little weird. So also, instead of saying our const http equals http.createServer, we're just going to say const app is equal to express, and that takes care of our normal run-of-the-mill stuff. And then we're going to say app.use express.json. This is our middleware that will help us read the database incoming and outgoing request. And all we got to do now is say module.exports app. So now we're going to do another thing that's pretty different than our average thing we do, which our thing is just our thing. We're going to create a server.js file. And in here, we're going to require our mongoose and .env packages that we download. So const mongoose equals require mongoose, and this is what's going to, like I said, help us connect to our database. And then we're going to require that .env file. So const.env equals require .env. And so what we're going to be doing with this .env file is creating with this .env module is creating a config.env file where we can save our username and password and database connection, so it's not in our main coding. That way, like, people can't see it. Simple as that. So do config.env, and to help read that, I have a .env extension, which you can see it is right here. I recommend you install that. And so we are going to paste in our database link that we copied, and then also put in your password here. Create your own little variable for it. I'm going to skip this whole part so you don't see my database password. I'd rather you not know it. Okay, so save that file. And then back over in our server.js file, we want to link to that .env so that we can read the variables we created out there. So we're going to say .env.config parentheses, curly brackets, and we're going to say path colon and then ./config.env. Pretty simple so far. And so now we are going to require our app. So const app equals require ./app. And if you remember in my previous videos, which I hope you've watched at this point, there's a certain way to install or to require our dependencies and modules, and this is the way we want to do it. We want Mongoose to be required first, and then .env, then our file, then our app itself. So now what we are going to do is use that link right here that we copied, and right here where it says password, we are going to want to replace that with our password from the config file. And you should have a little idea on how to do this if you've watched my template video where we create templates and then paste data in through a JSON file in the template. So delete this, and we're going to say const db is equal to process.env.database, because that's the variable we want from that env file, dot replace and we're going to say grab this guy out of that blank and replace it with our password variable, which should have been named database password. So process.env.database_password. And if I can do this, don't forget a little comma right here, otherwise I'm going to run into an error. So now we get to use Mongoose to connect to our database. So Mongoose .connect, and we want to give it our DB parameter so it knows what to connect to. And then in these curly brackets, we are going to put use new URL. U should be the only capital one, so URL parser. And we're going to set that to true. And also, this is where promises come in. So if you've watched that last video upload where I talk about asynchronous and synchronous node and programming, this right here is going to be asynchronous. The whole program is going to have to wait on a response from Mongoose, and all we are going to have that response be is that, hey, you're connected to the database. So we're going to say console.log connected to DB. Oh, that should be curly, or parentheses, not curly brackets. Cool. And I also had my port in that file linked, but we don't need to do that, so we're going to say app.listen, just like we normally do when we create a server in Node. We're going to give it the port. It's going to be 3000, and then a little arrow function here to tell us that the port is running. So now open up your terminal and we can run this program the way I do it, because I have NodeMon and I can't just run NodeMon in my Visual Studio Code editor here. I go to my files, and up here there's a little shortcut to get to the command prompt and get to this file. So go up there to where that file link is and just type cmd, and it'll open up the command prompt in this folder like you see right here. So I'm going to say NodeMon server, and if all goes well, it should say connected to DB and app running. Okay, so there we go. It's working. And one thing I want to point out here is that if you notice, we have this connected to DB, and then we have app running. So that is where asynchronous and synchronous programming come into play. since we have to wait for this promise to come back, it's going to keep going with the code so it doesn't block that event loop. And it's going to get down here and it says, okay, so now we're app running. It gets to this part. Then this part of the code comes back with that promise. It returns what we want, and then that is processed and logged to the console. So I'll make another video where I show you how to connect to a local database where you can have MongoDB running locally through the command prompt and connect to it through there. But I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something new, and thank you for watching.